You don't keep this today?
Not yet.
Everything Sarah tells you to do. My wife is called Sarah. So, my wife is called Sarah.
Yeah.
So she reminds you every day. Everything that Sarah tells you.
Oh, that's good. So we're in the last paragraph. The last paragraph is very interesting. Vayeira v'zoal. The last paragraph is going to talk a little bit more about the details about how Hashgacha actually works, and why even why there's both mercy and judgment in it. And he's going to bring an incredible question. And well, he's not going to bring. He's just going to bring the Zohar that asks a beautiful question, and then the Zohar is going to answer it, and the Rebbe is going to, the Alter Rebbe is going to use it in a very interesting way. Okay, so V'nei b'Zohar b'Savad Mishpatim, and part of the Zohar called the Savad Mishpatim.
What's Savad Mishpatim?
It's a part of the Zohar. It's in Parshas Mishpatim, and it's called the Saba because there's a Saba that talks there. A Saba usually is Eliyahu Navi. It says there, Perush מה שכתוב עיניו משוטטות, אילן נוקבים. ומה שכתוב המה משוטטים, אילן דחורים. So we saw that there were two psukim. We saw this in the beginning. In one pasuk it says that God's eyes are scouring in the masculine, and in one it says they're scouring in the feminine. And these were said by two different prophets, by Zechariah and I think by Yoel. I don't remember who the second one was. וכן הוא בזוהר ויחי דף רמ"א סוף עמוד א'. In another part of the Zohar it says the פירוש משוטטים הם בתיקוני שכינתא לטאטא. משוטטים, scouring, is a verb used here to depict the Shechina being able to engarb itself and come down. So the divine presence can come down and be in the physical world or see the physical world. And what does it mean? Hainu. Why does it have both masculine and feminine? Ki yesh malachim shem mizah ve'yesh malachim shem mimalchut. There are two types of angels. There are angels that come from the right side and from the left side, which in general in Chassidus or in Kabbalah are called the masculine side and the feminine side. The masculine is the right and the feminine is the left. Why are there two types of angels? Why do we need two different types? So in general, the angels that end with Aleph Lamed, like Michael, Gavriel, and Chazdiel, whatever, Zavdiel, the one that we say on Rosh Chodesh, all these are masculine. And then there's the feminine ones have Vavnun at the end, like Yeshurun. And Yeshurun is the feminine form of Israel. Israel is the Israel every morning in the davening. Okay. So for instance, the most famous one that has a Vav Nun at the end, we don't say his name, but I'll say it as close as I can, Matat, and then Reish Vav Nun, Ron. So he's the most famous one. He's from the left side. We don't say any of the angels' names unless they're also the name of a person. That's from the Arizal. So,
no problem with the electricity.
Okay.
Because the people with electricity is actually
No, it's okay. It's not the name of a specific angel. It's a type of angel. This is saying malach, or chayot, or ofanim. You can say these things. Feminine, but the additional thing is that Zah is usually associated with Tiferet, with Rachamim. So the angels that are from the right side, they are compassionate, and the angels from the left side, they are judgmental. What is this?
Women are
Good. No, initially a woman is more judgmental, and the duty of her husband is to give her compassion, give her mercy.
men are geworden.
Not at all.
Internet in from to the
Yeah, I understand. Maybe now it'll hold. So angels propagate in the sense that angels are like powers that unify, and something that's born out of the unification between them. But it's called the unification of the mouth. It's not a unification of the yesod, of the foundation. So he says these are the masculine and feminine angels here. They're Tiferes and Malchus. They are beauty and kingdom. ורוצה לומר, what's his meaning? המלאכים שמן הזהב והמלאכים שמן המלכות. עד כאן ישנו. And says Rav Chaim Vital there that it means the angels that come from Tiferes, angels that come from beauty, which is masculine, and the angels that come from kingdom, and they are feminine. עד כאן לשון המקדש מלך שם. והמלאכים, so said the מקדש מלך, בוזגלו, who brought the Rav Chaim Vital. והמלאכים שהם בתיקוני שכינתה, היא בחינת מלכות דאצילות, נקראים נוקבין. Oh, so now he says the angels, and this is a little textual commentary to understand the different sources. And whenever you say that there are angels that are engarbing the Shechina in Malchus, that's the feminine. And when you're saying that they're engarbing the Shechina in the divine presence in Zah, in Tiferes, so they're this. And now he says, and this is what it says in the Zohar, כמו שכתוב שם בזוהר, דף רמ"ז עמוד א', on page 247, portfolio 247, side 1, בפירוש בנות צעדה למהווה עלי שור. So what is it? Remember we said yesterday, or the day before, that by Yosef it says, ben prat Yosef, ben porat alei ayin, banot tzada alei shur. So alei ayin means above the eye, but then it adds, banot tzada, whoever we're talking about here, she also walked, now the way he's going to explain it is, she walked over the daughters, she walked over, banot tzada, tzada al banot. She marched over the daughters on the wall, alei shur. What is it talking about? So he says, tza'adot mi baile. If you wanted to say that it was the girls, like the Medrash says, the Medrash says that the girls climb up the wall to see Yosef. That's the meaning of this verse. He says if that was the meaning, then it should have been banot tza'adot alei shur, that the girls were walking or marching over the walls. But it says banot tza'ada alei shur, but it says it in the singular. So how can you understand this? The only way you can understand this, he says, is mamash pshat. Banot tza'ada alei shur, that she, meaning the Shechina, walked over the girls. Who are these girls then? Elahu ayin dichtiv le'ela alei shur. It's the eye that we talked about before. The divine providence is coming down to see. That's who's walking here. Umani u'ein mishpat, and it's called the eye of judgment. This is an amazing thing, because now you begin to understand why a lot of the supreme, at least in Israel and in America also, there's an image of an eye in everything that has to do with judgment. You know, the famous thing that they say belongs to the Illuminati, and it's this and it's that, all this crazy stuff. Really, it's very simple. The people who founded the United States and the people who founded other places in the world, they learned Torah to some extent. How much they learned, I don't know. But they knew that there's a thing called Ein Mishpat. What is Ein Mishpat? Ein Mishpat, the eye of judgment, is the description of Yerushalayim. There's a fountain in Yerushalayim that's called the Ein Mishpat. There's also a fountain called the fountain of the foot. There's also a fountain called the fountain of the eye. That's the pshat. That's literally what it's talking about. There were different fountains that had different names, meaning there were different mayanot. I say mayanot, fountains, springs. the understanding was it's called Ein Mishpat Emek HaMelech. This fountain, this spring, was in the valley of the king. So this is also an image. It's not just a reality. It's also an image. What is it an image for? What we said before, that the king founds his kingdom on justice. So the spring of the eye is related to justice, and then we find all the different allusions to this. Again, this was in the Chumash. This was in last week's Parsha. And we find all these different allusions to the eyes of Hashem that are scouring the earth, as it were, and they're passing judgment. So this was taken as a symbol, the eye, what they call the all-seeing eye, but it's not really the all-seeing eye, it's just the eye of judgment. And they took this as a symbol for the judicial system in the United States. The eye. And that also makes sense, because when you say providence, when you say that somebody's watching over you, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're watching over you to see how you're getting dressed. That's not what it's interested in. It's an eye of judgment. That if there was no judgment in the world, if the king had no way to exercise judgment, there would be no order and people would eat each other alive. So know that we're watching you. What do you mean we're watching you? There's justice here. That's all it means, really. You've never seen this on the dollar bill? The pyramid with the eye at the top. You must have seen it. You have a dollar bill there from the Rebbe. Even on the Rebbe's dollar bills is an eye.
This one is not from the Rebbe.
Okay.
This is one that somebody gave me that I'm going to catch, but I'm interested to see. Where is the eye?
On the back. See, on the right side. And the fact that it's on the right side and not on the left side is meaningful. On the right side there's the pyramid. And the top of the pyramid there's an eye. Sorry, it's on the left side.
Oh yeah, okay.
What's on the right side?
I don't know, but it's only written on here. I wonder if it's
Okay, anyway. So it should have said...
An eagle.
What?
An eagle is on the right.
Okay, an eagle's on the right. So they have it backwards. It would have been nicer if they would have put the pyramid with the eye on the right. We'll see why in a second. Although you could say that it's looking at you, so maybe it is on the right. It doesn't matter. Tzadot mi ba'ile. It should have said the girls are walking. So if it's not talking about the girls, who's it talking about? It's talking about the eye of justice. The spring of justice, which became the eye of justice. Every spring is an eye in Hebrew. So it is what was walking above the girls. That's why it's
referring to our snap.
So then that's closer already, because it's one girl. In any case, so he says no. It goes to the beginning of the pasuk. Ein mishpat alei ein. That there's an eye walking over the girls here, and it's not letikunha. In order to rectify itself, meaning to engarb itself in reality, the eye needs something to look through. And that's why it says it walks over the girls and not over the boys. Why? Why the girls and not the boys? שהיא בחינת האין משפט על שם מלך במשפט יעמיד הארץ, הוא נמשך ומתלבש במלאכים ונקראים בנות שהם בחינת נוקפין. So the type of providence that came down is the providence from the side of kingdom. And this type of providence, as we said, is more judgmental. And it engarbs itself within the feminine angels. That's why it's over the girls. וזהו בנות צעדה, שהמלכות צועדת על הבנות על האישור לראות ולהשגיח מעשה התחתונים. And that's why it says that she walked over them, because she walks over them, she engarbs herself in them in order to see and to have providence over the actions of the creations. As we said, especially as separate individuals. And that's why in one pasuk in the prophets it says his eyes are scouring, but in the feminine. Here the eyes that are scouring are already the malchus, the ein mishpat, engarbed within many angels. And then it's called that this angel becomes mishotet, it becomes scouring. And that's why the verse that we're talking about from our parsha says, was it like her outcry? Who is her outcry? Lashon nekeva, in the feminine, because it's b'chinat malchut, shenikrat dina de malchuta. That's the malchus. And we said before that malchus...
So this is an allegory, or you're saying that the story of the girl is not really what happened?
Well, there it's poetry for sure. So there's probably no pshat there. Only the Medrash can tell you something about it. Whenever there's poetry, like you would understand any poetry, the poetry is not, unless it's an haiku, I don't know, but some kind of Zen poetry. But in general, poetry doesn't discuss the literal meaning of things. Usually poetry is poetic. Not to say that people don't do poetry that's not poetic anymore. Of course they do, but most poetry, especially in the Torah, the poetry is already a non-literal form of communication. So you have to understand it non-literally in any case. So what is it talking about here? That her outcry is the outcry of the Malchus, it's the outcry of the kingdom, the judgment of the kingdom that went down into the world and saw what was going on. And it came back up now and it's crying out, there's a blemish here, there's something terrible going on here. But basically, so you have a kitzakata and you have what we said before, tza'ada. Tzakata and tza'ada, the fact that they're both in the singular, that's what awakens the connection here. Of course, there's much more to it, but they're both in the singular feminine. שהיא מבחינת מלכות שנקראת דינה דמלכותא, והיא העלאת הפגם על ידי המלאכים שהיא מבחינת מלכות, והכלים ד10 ספירות מבחינת מלכות, הבאה אליי, לאור אינסוף ברוך הוא, המלובש ב10 ספירות האצילות. And then they transfer the blemish, the sins, to the infinite, which is in the vessels of the 10 sfirot of Atzilus. Okay? So what is the process here? Then Malchus goes down. Malchut extends further down. The Malchut of Atzilus extends further down. Using the angels in the lower worlds, it's able to engarb itself within our world to be able to see the blemishes, and it brings them back up. Okay, so that's the hakatzakata, that's the outcry from what the Malchus saw, from what judgment saw. And what kind of judgment is this? This is the judgment that he called Dina de Melchuta Dina. It's the judgment that makes the world actually work. Because if there was no such judgment, the world would be torn apart. There has to be some kind of order.
What's the Rosh Ayin Sama?
10 ספירות. ו10 ספירות דאצילות. Then what was the reaction to that? ועל זה נאמר, ארדנה ואראה. And then it says, I will go down and see in the masculine. Whose I will go down and see? Who's the masculine? על ידי מידת החסד. That's the right side. That's the masculine side of judgment. וכנודע שזרו בו חסדים. And it is mostly loving kindness. It's mostly compassion. Anpoi de malka nirin. When the king looks at you with a illuminated face. Okay? When you see his face shining at you. It's a face of kindness. It's not a face of din. And that's what okay? That's what we have in Elul. Panim morikot, bepanim meirot. That Hashem shows his face, the Ein Sof shows its face as something full of loving kindness and of compassion. And that's why we have the other verse that says that God's eyes are scouring in the masculine scouring. And it now wants to see I want to see the outcry. I want to see, is it like the outcry that I received from the judgment, from the feminine judgment? In other words, this is exactly what we just described happens in a person. A person sees something, and the first instinct is always judgmental. And then the judgment goes up to the mind, and the mind asks itself, wait a minute, let's look at this again. Second time. I want to see, should I really follow my instinct and be judgmental? Or is there compassion that I can add to this? Okay? You okay?
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to work out all the Rosh
Hashanah. Maybe with my loving kindness, with my compassion, here it's more the loving kindness part first, I can awaken compassion on this situation.
Why can't you use seichel to arouse compassion?
Why can't you use?
Seichel.
That is what you use.
No, you
The compassion comes from the seichel.
loving kindness, which is
Seichel, it's a side of loving kindness in the seichel. It's like the chokhmah or the loving kindness of da'at, or even in bina itself. There is loving kindness that she received already from chokhmah. In any case, it's coming from the seichel. It's coming from the mind. And the mind is not looking at things instinctually. And by the way, when the mind looks at it, it can ask. Because we said the mind is not involved. The mind is not engaged.
the brain is cold.
It's cold. So even if you see an atrocity, the mind looking at it doesn't necessarily get all worked up. He's not engaged in it yet.
Only
It's a reality.
Only men, only women.
Why?
Oh, women.
Because she's just following the instinct, that's all. And the mind is maybe not, it's also in young people. The mind is not strong enough yet to hold back the engagement and think about it for a second and see whether I can find some compassion to judge the situation with. But that's the necessary, everything he's talking about here about angels, in us, this is how we appreciate the situation, what tools we have for understanding what's going on. A feminine angel for us would be like cause and effect. Like I told you two nights ago when I came into the room and somebody had opened the windows. And I see the signs. And somebody played chess. So my feminine angel is my feminine understanding of the rules that happened here. I know who plays chess. I see the windows open. Cause and effect. The guy who played chess is the guy who opened the windows. I get angry at him. That's a feminine angel. Because that's just... The masculine angel, he's more complex. Wait a minute. There's no necessary cause and effect here. He's like anti-Humean. I think Hume was the guy who decided that cause and effect is everything. No, it's not so simple. The cause and effect is not so clear here. It's something much more complex. Who knows? Maybe one guy played chess, one of the kids played chess, the other kid came in here and wanted to smell the barbecue and he opened the window. Who knows? So that's the masculine angel already. And he calms me down and he says, look, there's other clues here. And then I look around and I see, wait a minute, there's a towel. And I know who brings towels into here. It's a different kid from the one who plays chess. So there's two of them here. So I don't know anymore. But that's already the mind building a different construct about the reality. Every understanding that we have of reality is what we call a rule that we apply to reality. So if you're a mathematician, so you like to analyze things statistically. If you're a physicist, you like to analyze things using mechanics. Whatever the rules in your head is. If you're a judge, I don't know what you look at because I'm not a judge. If you're an economist, you look at what was the benefit from, what did he get out of it, how much was he paid for it, I don't know what. But every person has his own angels in that sense. And the angels are how you build the argument, how you build the construct in the world. What rule you see coming into play when you look at the world. Okay? So that all goes up using the Malchus. It goes up to the mind. And now the mind looks at it, and the mind at first should be cold, like you said. Cold and wet. Hold on. Let's see if I can send my masculine angels down to look at it also. I'm going to come down with a masculine point of view. And the masculine here means la'arichaf, with more patience. I don't have to respond instinctually. I can think about
compassion and patience are connected.
Passion can, but it should have been like compassion. But really what they mean to say is it's with passion. Compassion means with passion. And I guess what they meant to say was it's with loving kindness, that type of passion. Because it's not passion in the sense of being more strict and more emotional, but it's coming with the right side. That's what they meant at least to say. In Hebrew, rachamim is actually a feminine word.
Maybe come means without.
No, I think kam is with, like.
If it was without, that would make sense.
No, I think it's kam means. Kan is against. Okay. But kam with an M is with. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's what it is. Okay, so let's see his proof of this. Very interesting. So I'll look and see if I can find some measure of loving kindness here in my thoughts and be able to judge this favorably, this whole situation. Daf Reis Tzadik Gimel, it says in another part of the Zohar, שבחינת ההשגחה על ידי בחינת עינם משוטטות לשון נוקבה ובחינת דין, וההשגחה שעל ידי בחינת עיני השם משוטטים ובחינת רחמים, just like we said. Okay. והעניין, שהוא על דרך משל כמו שכתוב, ושפטו העדה והצילו העדה. It says that when the Sanhedrin judges a trial, you're not allowed to give a verdict if it was unanimously. Can't everybody say he's guilty? Right. There has to be somebody who sees chus, who sees loving kindness, who sees that there is a side to judge him favorably, and he's not guilty. And it says, "V'shaftu eda, v'itzilu eda." So the Sanhedrin, the Eda here is the Sanhedrin. They have to, on the one hand, judge; on the other hand, they have to save. So they have to be divided. There has to be two sides to the picture. Eda shofetet ve'eda metzelet. We also learn from this the numbers. But in any case, there's both judgment and there's the motion to save, the motion to judge, the motion to save. These are like the right, the left and the right. Everything in this world is mixed up. There is not a single thing in this world that is 100% negative and should be judged 100%, only judged, and something that is 100% all goodness. Everything is mixed up. The Baal Shem Tov says this about Shlomo. He says, "Ve'nashav hitu et levavo." His wives caused his heart to lean. What are you talking about? Shlomo HaMelech. The literal meaning that people understand from this verse is that his wives caused Shlomo to serve avodah zarah, to serve idols. That's absolutely not true. No way that can be the meaning of the verse. So what says the Baal Shem Tov? There can be other meanings, but the Baal Shem Tov says we have to understand it in a different way. His wives means his left side. It made his heart lean to the left, so that at the end of his life he was judging much more harshly than he was at the beginning of his life. And that has to do with what you said, that you don't appoint an old man to be a judge. Because he's too judgmental already. He's too cynical about reality.
Yeah, he has no compassion.
He's lost his ability to think favorably of the situation. Of course, there are people who are old in age, but they're not old. When you say an old man, you don't mean by age.
It says you don't look in the Teudat Zehut to see how old he is.
Right. So you don't look at the age. Well, you're looking at how compassionate is this person. As a person grows old, the way to not be old is to continue to be compassionate, to continue to use the mind to look more favorably on situations, to judge people more favorably. Okay? That's the way to run away from old age. That's one of the most important things. Okay. But there's, Rabbi Yitzchak just put a book out called, not just now, 5 years ago, called The Twinkle in Your Eye. It has a few classes on this whole topic, that as we grow old, we become more feminine. The nature of every person is to become more feminine. So that doesn't mean that he loses his hair or something like that, although that happens. The meaning is that he becomes more judgmental. So there's a side to it that's necessary. What's the side that's necessary? The nukva also means forgetfulness. The fact that you become more forgetful is because you're becoming more feminine.
Women forget more than men?
No. But the left side is the side of forgetfulness. It could be that a woman remembers more than a man, because she has the natural instinct to remember more. But by a male, what it means is that as you grow older, you become more feminine. The positive side of it is that you can forget. What should you forget? The negative things. Use it to your advantage. You shouldn't become like Shlomo, more judgmental, more harshly judgmental about the situations. And because of that, he couldn't continue to be king, and he passed away at the age of 52. Okay? At the very last moment that he was still masculine enough to be the king. In any case, do we have a couple minutes?
Yeah.
Because now we'll see the amazing thing. So it says, in any argument or in any situation that I see, I can both learn to be harsh with it and to be lenient with it. There can be schos and there can be chovah. There can be something that's detrimental and something that's positive. And in fact, the same argument, now he's going to show, can be used in two different ways. What's the example? In everything you can teach schus and chovah, positive and negative side of things. There was one of the sages, I don't remember who said, I can't judge a Talmud Chacham. Why? Because I love them too much. Because I love a Talmud Chacham too much, I'll never be able to judge him. I'll never be able to be. I'm close to him, like I'm close kigufai, like my own body. The same way that I can't judge my body. A person can't see his own. He can't judge himself properly. Even though he's really guilty, he doesn't see his guilt. So if it would have been somebody who is not nogea b'davar, that he's not related to, he's not close to him, he doesn't endear him, so he could judge him properly. And now he brings a beautiful question from Parshas Noach. In the Noach it says, at the end of Bereshis it says, at the end of the first Parsha it says, V'chol yetzer machshavot libo rak ra kol hayom, that all the thoughts of his heart are only evil all day, therefore I will get rid of him. I will destroy man. That was at the end of Bereshis, and then the flood came. And he destroyed. What does it say 2 minutes after the flood? Sorry, we're not there. So the fact that his thoughts, that man's thoughts are evil all day long, that was a reason to destroy humanity. And then 2 minutes after the flood, ויאמר השם אל ליבו להוסיף לקלל את האדמה בעבור האדם כי יצר לב האדם רע מנעוריו. He gives the same reason, close enough.
There's nothing I can do with it.
Some people say, yeah, nothing I can do with it, but it's the same reason. Good. So, but it's the same reason. First it caused you to destroy humanity, now you say because of this I will never destroy humanity. So which is it? He says, you see, you can use the same argument in two different ways, completely different ways. From the same argument, that the man of heart is evil, for this very reason, he doesn't want to destroy the earth again, because of man.
The second one comes after we realize the futility, wiped off the...
But it's still the same. It's still the same argument.
It's the same point, but there's two matarot, two outcomes.
Well, the outcomes are because he sees it differently.
Right.
He wasn't afraid to destroy it the first time. He could have destroyed it again.
It's futile because he's going to keep doing that all and all.
Okay, so what? There's lots of stuff that's futile in the world. People die. Does it help the world? Does it make it a better place?
I'm going to go fix the carpets.
Okay. Why? So really, what was the reason? We can finish. We have a tiny bit more.
When?
Tomorrow. We can finish tomorrow if you like. Yeah.
What happened to your chum?
He's not doing so well.
You said it was all Seinfeld to do.
I thought so. Ohio was the big deal, but I guess it's not.
You lost Ohio?
No, we didn't.